bittersweet. Huh? Keep losing sleep while driving in the backseat. What's left of me? Drowning in what feels just like an ocean. Negativity is getting closer. Hard to keep the heat when it gets colder. You know, sometimes everything just gets hard. Sometimes everything just gets harder. Feeling like I'm missing some parts. Days just keep on getting much darker. Even when I'm down in the lower, I remember what you were saying. Sometimes all you need is a spark. Maybe just a better kind of bitter. Lose gravity, I'm swimming in the quicksand. Up to my knees. Keep losing sleep, I'm manic dream at midnight. So hard to please. Drowning in what feels just like an ocean. Negativity is getting closer. Hard to keep the heat when it gets colder. You know, sometimes everything just gets hard. Sometimes everything just gets harder. Feeling like I'm missing some parts. Days just keep on getting much darker. Even when I'm down in the lower, I remember what you were saying. Sometimes all you need is a spark. Maybe just a better kind of bitter. Think about the stuff we play. How I'd rather do that instead. I keep screaming out loud from the top of my lungs, baby, ooh. Think about the stuff we play. How I'd rather do that instead. I keep screaming out loud from the top of my lungs, baby, ooh. Think about the stuff we play. How I'd rather do that instead. I keep screaming out loud from the top of my lungs, baby, ooh. Think about the stuff we play. How I'd rather do that instead. I keep screaming out loud from the top of my lungs, baby.
Yo, y'all come on in.
I honestly didn't even really want to say anything on
I got a special treat for y'all tonight.
That's what the people want. That's what I came here for. So we're gonna get into it.
Y'all like the video? Share the video.
Don't turn this into no controversy. It's my boo. I can make $250,000 off a haiku, and I can make another quarter off it ×2. If it's money on the table, I'll be on it like Bobby or Epic. You peep the aesthetic, it's hard to forget it. I hear you talking, but you're hardly right. I'm the voice of your prototype. Summertime and then why? Yeah. Summertime and then why? It's too cool. Get the drop tops out. Summertime and then why? It fits right. Bottles over here. Summertime and then why? Summertime and then why? I'm talking 6 a.m. tea times. 18 with the mayor talking land banks. I waited for it, gotta get mine. Snag a seat up at the table if my man can't. Head into a meeting, we're familiar with no briefcase. Just my mind in a free state. I got a plan through a vision, but it takes time. I'ma make mine. Summertime and then why? Yeah. Summertime and then why? Yeah. You know the drill by now. Summertime and then why? Get everything together, get the squad together, get the gang together. Summertime and then why? Summertime and then why? Started in the back office, now I run the front. Call the shots, make the deals, know the deal, know what's up. Too much for the books, then I put it in a tuck. Too much for the tuck, then I give it to my love. Once I make $1 million, man, $1 million won't be enough. Watch me fake the struggle while I get it off the hush. Now it's JetBlue miles, Rolex dials, frowns turn to smiles. Summertime and then why? come to an end. Summertime and then wild, and it falls upon us. I want you to bring that summertime and wild and run that thing back. Yeah, until next year. Summertime and then wild, yeah, and wild. Summertime and then wild, yeah. We gone.
Yo, what's up, YouTube? What's up, Facebook land? It's your boy JD, aka Mr. December, and we back with another video that you're guaranteed to remember, y'all. Man, listen. Y'all give me 1 second to get my camera cut on. Your boy struggle streaming just a little bit, but we're going to be all right. Let me get my volume turned up. Oh yeah, there we go. I need all the help I can get. There we go. It's your boy JD. Y'all forgive the line. I just did a quick washing style on my hair. I had to take the do-rag off. Anyway, we back, y'all. We back. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy JD. And listen, y'all, I don't care where you are. I don't care what part of the world you're in. I don't care what time zone you are in. It is always summertime in I can't talk, man. We'll try that again. It is always summertime in NY, y'all. Yo, what are we talking about today? I got a special guest in the back. I think y'all are going to enjoy him. He's one of my good friends, and he's a very smart brother. He's a very successful brother. He does a lot of things, a lot of different things, man. So I think we're going to get a lot of good points from him tonight, y'all. So what are we talking about? We are talking about modern women want traditional men. But what do those men want? What do those men want? And to help me talk about it tonight, I have the one, the only. Let me introduce y'all to my friend, DC Carson.
What's up, man? What is up?
Friend,
how's it going?
It's going well, man. Look, I knew I liked this man. Roll Tide. Roll Tide. I don't know where Fishing Spot Reviewer is tonight, but it don't even matter because my man DC has got his Roll Tide shirt on. Man, how's everything going with you?
Man, I am enjoying retirement, enjoying, my entrepreneur journey now. Also a little bit of, you saw a little bit of that today, just kind of listening to people, listening to the pulse of what current issues are and being able to discuss it in the, to get results. A lot of times people will have those discussions to argue, but I'm always about, hey, at the end of the day, we need a solution. So just enjoying life, brother. JD, how about you?
Man, I've been doing much of the same. I'm not retired yet, man. But I got a new job, new gig,
Okay.
baby on the way,
Okay.
new wife. My book has come out, man. So we
Indeed.
doing big things, man. We just trying to be like you, my friend. We're trying to be like you. So, y'all, we are talking about modern women want traditional men. But what do those men want? We are going to get into it today. But before we do that, let me give a few shout outs. Let me give a shout out to all of my supporters. People like Eugene Steele. He's already in the front of the comment section saying that men want fit, feminine, and friendly women. I tend to agree. And we're going to talk about it, Eugene Steele. Hang in there with us. Eugene has been one of my day ones, and I appreciate all of the support. People like Cool Cat across the pond. He's all the way in Great Britain, and he usually comes out to show support every time we come on live. People like my wife, even though she's at the end of this beautiful thing called pregnancy, she still tunes in to support every time that we come on. And if you're watching on the replay, I need you to like the video, share the video if you get any value out of it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel either. And I mentioned to DC my new book, y'all. go get my new book. It's called God's Remedy for Anxiety. Now, the reason I wrote this book is because I'm one that dealt with and still dealing with anxiety issues today. And a lot of men are dealing with anxiety and depression, and they keep it all in. So over here, look, I try to encourage the men, if you don't believe in something, it's about time that you start believing in something, because if you are going to be one of those men up here that we talk about all the time over here on this channel up here and not down here, not the Pookies and the Ray Rays, then you need to get that book, because life gets hard, and I believe DC can agree with me. It's hard to be a man sometimes, and in order to get better, in order to continue to carry on, you are going to need to believe in something. So I put together a book. You can find it on Amazon. You can also find it at Barnes and Noble. And if you cash out me $13, I will send you a personalized signed copy myself. My cash app is down in the description. And let's see. I think that's it. Let's get right into it. So, y'all, today I came across a post that my man DC put on that blue app. I think they call it Facebook. Is that right? They call it Facebook, right? Yeah, they call it Facebook. So, DC, do you want to tell us about a little bit about what sparked the great conversation and how we came here today?
Right. So the thing that I wound up putting up there is that I like to look at a lot of stuff that people talk about on social media. You pardon me while I'm pulling it up. And so it always gets me is that not just what they're talking about, but it's how they're talking about it that gets people kind of wrapped around an axle, and it doesn't become productive conversation. So I asked the question was, if a man is expected to be the provider, is it fair for him to expect a debt-free woman? And I knew that that may kind of ruffle some feathers, which ironically it didn't necessarily. But it is a question when you see out there in the social media sphere, from YouTube to different things. And, I look at all the kind of different programs out there, and it was like everybody has this conversation about a man needs to do that. You like the traditional things. I'm asking you to meet these traditional things. But then there's, I'm gonna get into like I've heard Kevin Samuels or Fresh and Fit or different things like that. Red Pill, Manosphere. I take a look at all those different views. But it was like that thing of saying, all right, even if you take away, like they talk about virginity or that kind of stuff for cooking and cleaning, my thing was just from a financial standpoint. What is it fair? And I put that word in there for a reason, because it's to a point of, well, if we're going to make demands, then why could that not be a demand that someone could make? I didn't say whether I agreed or not, which we can get into that, and I can tell you exactly what I believe. But that was the main thing. I wanted to see what people had to say, is that if it's fair to demand, like you've heard people say, I don't do 50-50. If I do 50-50 with a man, then I believe that he's my roommate, which I don't agree with that at all. I think that's not really thinking about it comprehensively. To me, that's a narrow scope view. But if I'm asking him to provide all those bills, and again, we're not just talking about needs, wants, is it fair to ask for him to have, for her to come in debt free? And I think it's a fair thing to ask.
You know what? I tend to agree, and I agree with everything you just said. I think it's very fair to ask, because the thing that I see, and I watch a lot of the same programs that you watch as well. But the thing of it is, what bothers me is you hear a lot of modern women saying that they want men to do X, Y, and Z, be 6 feet tall, have six pack abs, and make six figures, and take care of all of the bills. Make sure that she gets her hair and nails done, but they don't provide the man anything in return. So the question comes up: if you want that kind of man, the kind of man that they say that they want, what does that man want? And a lot of women outside of we'll just call it the box, right? Outside of the box, a lot of women can't articulate what it is that they bring to the table. Now, I know a lot of women don't like that. Bring to the, I am the table. I am the chair and the legs and the, all that good stuff, what they say. But the fact of the matter is that men's desires and wants matter too. And I just don't think that in these modern times that most women even care about what men want. So is it fair for a woman to come into a relationship and expecting a man to take on all of her debt, right? Whether it be student loan debt, whether it be consumer debt, or in business debt. We know 2023, a lot of people are trying to be entrepreneurs these days, and I'm down for all of that. But is it fair? And these kinds of men that make six figures and up, what do we want? Well, we want a submissive woman. For one, we want a woman that cooperates and that respects us, right? What do you think about that, DC?
Well, I'll tell you, I want to make sure I frame my mindset where it comes in. I do believe that there's room to grow on both the male side and female side, and I think there's discussions. I think a lot of people get in there, and when I say something, I believe in creating safe spaces for women, and definitely in the captain's conversation, because women do go through a lot. But I also do believe this, and sometimes that does rub people the wrong way, is that I'm not society, especially marketing. It'll cater to women to tell them comfortable lies over the uncomfortable truth. And I'm going to tell you what the comfortable truth is, and then we can work that out. So I just believe that, like, for example, I get those things, feminine, fit, and I hear all that kind of stuff, non-combative, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to tell you the first thing I'm asking for is wisdom. I need you to be wise. And I need you to be team minded and partner minded and that kind of stuff. And see, that's the pivot in there. If you're coming in as a team and a partner minded, JD, then we're not getting to a point where because I mean, what the Bible says is a helpmate. Well, my thing is, if we're going to take the biblical term and say it's a helpmate, you're not helping me if there's not a contribution. Like even the Bible, when they were more so agriculture, when did you ever see where it was that man owned the field and that he spent all his time working on the field, and then she went and worked for somebody else's field and built that kingdom? No, that right there is going to be a deal breaker for me. I think that it has to be where you do, and with what you're saying is that what those men want. I think a lot of times in here, it's hard for people to hear things that they may not meet. Like, I was a pilot in the military. So that's a very high washout rate. Most folks don't even make it there. And they have to be able to sit back and say they were great, 300 PT score, all that kind of stuff. When they met all those things, but they just did not make the mark. That's a hard thing to accept. But never, and then some of us who were blessed enough to get there. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And when I look at how intense it is, it's a reason for that. So bringing that over to parallel is that I do think we're kind of in this thing where we're going, that men, just straight to it. This thing where it's like men can't state their preferences, I don't even follow that. I'm gonna tell you what it is, and that's something you have to work out, because we do get to choose too. It's a man and a woman coming together. So I think that they need to listen to that. And I would say, yes, you do want fit. Yes, you do want feminine. Of course, I'm not gonna sit there and go to deny that. But even if you don't want fit, let's say whatever your size is, the reality is that man gets to pick what he wants. That man should be able to state what he wants. If you don't want to meet that, that's fine. The same ways that you make your requirements. If he don't meet it, cool. I just, you know what, JD, that's the thing about the conversation that's interesting to me, is that should it not be where both people can sit down? If you want, like what I mentor women, so they'll sit back and ask stuff. I say, okay, would you date a guy like me? And they'll go, of course. I said, so what do you think it is that I want? And they'll go, well, X, Y, Z. And then it may say something, let's say, for example, the financial thing. I was like, no, if you're bringing in debt, I'm not saying don't marry somebody that has debt, but it's all hands on deck till this debt is wiped out. It's not, no, you got your stuff over here and we $2,000 and $3,000 purses. It's not. That, but if that's something that they want, then I'm not the guy.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You are spot on. Matter of fact, let me hit it for you one time. And see, that's the thing, DC. It seems like, I'm not saying this is what's going on, but y'all can let me know in the comment section if y'all agree. But it seems like that women are told to go ahead, girl, do your thing, don't settle, don't settle, don't settle. Don't go for these dusty men, da 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 da. But when men start to express their preferences, then it's toxic masculinity. Then is we're fat shaming or whatever, or why is it that you don't like wigs, or you want women to wear natural hair, da, da, da. We It seems like we're shamed for wanting our preferences. Now if you are more of a traditional man, look, it takes a lot to be that in these days. I mean, come on. It's 2023. Kids are exposed to a lot more. Uh, Women and men are exposed to a lot more. You got access to so many people and so many different stages of life just at the tips of your fingers now. If you're an average woman, you could have a NBA player jumping in your DMs if you look good enough. That's just the reality of it. But while women are chasing careers, chasing degrees, and chasing the bag and all of this stuff, it seems like their pool of men gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So let's break it down just a little bit. And how long do you got, DC?
I got time, man, and I actually would love to hit on that point you just made.
Man, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so when I talk to women, I hear the things about the standards, and I always sit back and say, if I can want to work for IBM or I can want to work for Microsoft and feel I deserve to work at Microsoft, but if I don't have the qualifications that Microsoft is asking for, if I don't have all those C plus and all that programming stuff, then it doesn't matter. I can want something, and we can want things, but it's to a point where desires and preferences and qualifications. And it's a hard thing for sometimes people to take a listen to it, and that is the qualifications, what that man may want, as well as what that woman may want. And then I also think it's something that I will say that I think women have done some great things, and I think there was a part of feminism that was good to have equality and fair treatment, and to give them a voice. But one thing I sit back and say, for a lot of the conversations I hear, not saying this applies to a lot of women, but it's the thing where a lot of the things are individual accomplishments, not communal. It's very individual minded. Like, I have a master's degree and 3 classes away from a second master's degree. And of course, being a pilot and all that kind of stuff. But that's an individual accomplishment. And if I'm leading my soldiers, they don't necessarily care about that. That means something good. What they want to know is what we as the unit can do. And that's the thing I think that's lost in that, is that it becomes so combative to sit back and say, well, ma'am, those are great individual accomplishments, but they're not communal. There's got to be to a point where if everybody's chasing bags and I'm over here chasing this bag, who's chasing these kids?
There
and you
you
see
go.
how our kids are like that. So my thing is that somewhere along the line, we as men not have to have, because I believe in telling you to keeping it real, but keeping it real with kindness. I don't believe you just come blasting ladies. I think you have to create a safe space, because I was a director of a lot of different counseling programs, and women have gone through a lot. But I do believe we don't escape the truth. So in that, it's that to a point, like, for example, going back over there, a degree is great. I've got the degree, absolutely value. And I think that's the lie that's been out there. These men don't want you to have a degree. That's not what we're saying. What we generally are saying is that sometimes when you get into power dynamics, and it's the same with men, people that have rank that let it go right to their head. When you get to that thing, it's not your accomplishments, it's the attitude that sometimes accompany it. That's the issue. If you bring that thing back down, that's fine. But in the reality is, it's just, we got to I don't know how to because some people, remember I was telling you about modern women, it's more for a pie chart, and you've got the extreme, then you got somewhere in the middle, and then you got some that really are more so traditional. They're just labeling themselves modern. But really, it's just got to be where, I think when they have it, if you want to call yourself a modern woman, I have zero problem with that. What I do think is that has to come with, like I always say when I'm mentoring people, say, you get to make whatever choice you want to make. You don't get to choose the consequences, and you don't get to choose the definition. You don't get to choose
There you go.
perception. You don't get to choose those things. So I don't allow myself to be bullied in those conversations. I will straight sit back and say, okay, what do you think I want as a man? Do you think I want to go out and work from sun up to sundown, pay all the bills, which I don't mind doing, and then come home and I don't know where you are because you're chasing the bag, and vice versa? Then why? After a while, that's gonna get old for both of us. And now it's just where we're living and we're existing together. So you don't want to pay 50-50, but I see you like you're a roommate because you always gone. That's the thing we have to have them conversations with about.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we have to find somewhere of working in the middle, right? Because like you said in another post, it's not doing us any good for men to be barking on this side and women to be barking on this side. We need to find a solution and try to find some common ground so we can have more two-parent homes, right? And have a more of a family structure because we need that. I mean, I was telling some people just the other day, are we doing better now with more, or did our ancestors and forefathers do better with much less? Like you would think it would be easier for us to get along now, but now it seems like the gender war is ramped up more than ever. But let's do something real quick. Let's break down what is a modern woman. What is a modern woman? I'm gonna break a couple of things down, and then we're gonna go to DC and see if he agrees with me. The one of the first things that come to mind when I hear modern woman is independent. I don't need a man. That's one of the first things I think about. We even have married women saying they don't need a man. Sierra, I don't know if you caught the show last week, DC, but Sierra is promoting a song now. You know who Sierra is, don't you? Married to Russell Wilson. And
Yes, I heard about the song.
yeah, you heard about it? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and she's promoting independent lifestyle, don't need a man, I'm on a mission, and she's married. And that goes back to what you were just saying. We're trying to build something over here, but now you putting out records talking about I'm on a mission and I'm doing my own thing. How does that make sense? The other thing that I think of is someone that's a woman that's really, really career driven. And I'll just say in the black community, we see a lot of times modern women wanting to get their career started first, and then they put family and kids on the back burner. And then when they pick their head up and they're 35 years old and they're like, oh, snap, now I don't have a man. What do I do now? You understand what I'm saying? So, and one of the things that I see that's a problem with that is some of our Caucasian counterparts, they do both simultaneously. They'll go to college and then they'll be going to weddings their sophomore year, getting married, right? But it seems like, y'all, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like black women will go to college to prove that they don't need a man. And then our Caucasian counterparts, our Caucasian brothers and sisters, they will go to college to find a man. Because by the time they hit 20, 23, 24, 25, they want to be married and already starting a family. What do you think about that, DC?
Right. So I think that we do have an issue in our community, and I have to hit it straight on because sidestepping it doesn't get you anywhere.
Right.
I think that we have demonized marriage, which is bad. I think that we have tried to correct the ills of the past, some of the oppressive things about a patriarchal society. But what we wind up having is we overcorrected drastically. And now it's to a point where, You know, like I always sit back and say, here's the real deal. If you want to be strong and independent, and I'm going to go back to that term in just a second, then if you're saying that you don't need a man, you want to be fine, and all you need a man is for one thing, you really have just played right into what men have with you. I mean, you just played right into, because if you think that men are going to cry because you don't want to marry them, now all you want is one thing, they're not. They're just going to take it and go. You've heard something I say, it's that the dynamics of things we say, like you say you're the prize and men call each other players. Well, guess what? The thing is, in order to win a prize, you have to play a game. And then if you sit back and say, well, men playing games, well, guess what? When you set yourself up with that mindset, then that's where it becomes. It becomes a game because it's players and prizes. And the thing I think that what happens with the strong and independent is that within itself being strong is one thing, being independent is a lie. Nobody is independent of themselves. Everybody needs someone. No man or woman is an island. But the problem is that term has been weaponized. It's to sit back and say, if I say I'm strong and I'm striving to be my best, why not say that? But I've had those debates with women that say, when you sit back and say, I don't need a man, now we're into something that's totally different and really totally demonic. Because even if you can pay for a man to do certain things, you still need a man. And then as a man, I sit back and say, everybody is strong and independent till somebody kicks your door open at 2 a.m. in the morning. Now we got a problem because at the end of the day and I don't advocate violence against women at all. We need to make sure we say that. But when I say this is that I always tell women is that you're looking at it from the best case scenario instead of the worst case scenario. So degrees are good. And I think, women being educated, that's modern. Working outside of the home, that's modern. Being able to, have their own bank accounts, be able to get their own loans, be able to do those things without needing a man to sign. All that stuff, I believe, is modern, and it's access to finance, it's access to education, it's access to those things. Nothing inherently is wrong with that. But what has come to a point where it's now to a point where we're basically, some of them, and not all modern women, but there's an element of it that does not want to equalization, it wants domination. And those are the voices that I have the biggest issues with. It's like, no, you're not going to dominate me. Now, we can have a kind of a shared power going in there, but there are certain scenarios where when that door is kicked up, if I tell you to get down, I don't need to sit here and have to explain to you why I just told you to get down. I need you to get down. My family knows that if I sit back and say, listen, y'all need to get up and leave. You need to go right now. I got something to handle. They already know Daddy's finna handle something. Because I'm telling you to get down, because you military as well as I know. That means stuff is finna start flying all over the place, and I need y'all to get low and flat. And I do not have any time to sit here and just have that discussion with you. That's where my manhood rises to that point where, hey, listen, when it's time to go, at the end of the day, if you put a man and a woman in a trailer and gave them both sledgehammers, that man is coming out there 100 times out of 100 times. Because we're physically there. And that's my role. So no, but I don't need to have a discussion every time. But I need to respect her. So that's the thing that in the modernism, and it's not inherently bad, there hasn't been a discussion, where does that man's authority come in? Because if my authority only comes in when you want it and when you like it, then you in control. I'm not. And no man wants to sign up for that.
Right. Let me hit it for you again. 100% facts, man. And one thing that I want to point out is you mentioned something about it seems like women want to do the dominating. Well, we often hear, oh, well, I don't want a man to dominate me and take control over me, but what they're displaying and what they're saying is that I don't want him to dominate. I want to do the dominating. But when you have a more traditional man that is a provider, that is a protector, then that kind of man is not looking to dominate anyway. You understand? I'm not looking to dominate my wife and kids. I just want respect and cooperation. Just like you said, hey, I need to do this real quick. I need y'all. Okay, don't ask questions later. You know what I'm saying? If at all, you understand? Because they trust your judgment, they trust your leadership because you've displayed it over and over again, and they know that hey, uh, JDDC, they say this, then whatever it is, they got it. They got it. We good. That's what protection looks like, right? We can't do our job and protect without that cooperation. But when we hear protect black women, protect all women, believe all women, I mean, come on. We can't do that if women don't trust our leadership. It just doesn't work.
Well,
And go
let
ahead.
me ask you this then, JD. Do you think leadership has truly been defined? Because I think what happens is there's a power struggle versus there being a definition of what a leader does. Like when we worked together, I couldn't do everything that I needed to do. So I had a staff and I had to trust them to do certain things.
Mhm.
But yet ultimately it was who's called. So that's the thing I think sometimes people don't understand it. Somebody has to make a call. And
Mhm.
it's got to be to a point where who is going to make that call? If I'm responsible for something, then if you are constantly taking the power, or because I need to be working together, but if you're constantly trying to take it or constantly it's always being challenged, then that just makes for a long relationship because at the end of the
Mhm.
day is who wants to go through all of that for especially for simple things.
Mm, right, absolutely. No, 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 man. Look, once you have certain stuff on your plate as a man, you got a family, job, business, side hustles, whatever you trying to do. We just don't need the extra headache. We just don't. And some of this might sound a little harsh, but I mean, we men don't want to hear it. With all the bickering back. Oh, well, why does it have to be this way? Or why? Just do what I say. And then check this out: men that really have a mind to lead and protect and give provision for his family. Watch this. A lot of times, he's not going to lead you astray anyway. That's not to say that everybody's perfect, right? It's not to say that you won't mess up and make a mistake, but in the long run, the women need to be able to trust their man, their husband, the leader of the household, to make the decisions. And watch this. Let me give you a power play for free. Ladies, if you show your man that respect and show him that you have that confidence in him, then guess what? It boosts up his confidence to where he can make better decisions, to where he will want to go out and do more, to where he will listen. Let me tell you something. My wife is so awesome. DC, I've had a pretty busy day today, right? And my wife has been around me enough to know that if I start doing too much or if I have too much going on, that sometimes I'll cancel the show and not do it. But I was thinking about canceling the show tonight. I didn't want to, but guess what? She said one thing to me that made me say, "Oh, I got to go ahead and do this show." She said, "I'm looking forward to your show tonight."
Mm.
Something as simple as that. And guess what? That inspired me to push on. That inspired me to come online and have this conversation. You understand what I'm saying? So, what do women have to offer?
I'm going to say this is that one thing I've had to unpack, and just with a lot of praying and looking at the situation, just this rift between men and women. Before I get that to what they have to offer, you remember growing up and they heard you heard the things what a little girl's made out of is sugar and spice and everything nice, but what a
Mm-hmm.
little boy is made out of snaps and snails and puppy dog tails. And
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning, that has set up something that was sold into us as children that women had this thing in them that made them right. and men had inherently things within us, wired within us that's wrong. I don't know what a snap is, but I definitely don't want to be a snail or a puppy dog tail. So if you,
Right.
so if you believe everything is right about you, and this man is by design flawed, which is definitely demonic, then you create what human beings have a negativity bias, and we talked about that earlier. So what happens is you have a negativity bias towards men, and then you have a confirmation bias where you look for information to validate a lot of times what women already believe. So basically, it becomes a self-eating snake. And what happens is that you can't deal with it's hard to deal with. Not all women have this, but some it's hard to deal if you have it. It's like this. If I were out on the date and a woman said, way back in the day, I was out on when a woman she said, well, all men are dogs. I said, well, this date is over. Let's go. And she was like, why? I said, because I'm not going to spend my time trying to convince you of the entire gender of why I'm taking you out. I'm spending good money on this Italian dinner, and you're sitting here telling me by default, or you're inferring I'm a dog. That's a wrap. I don't need to sit here. And it was over. And I was like, I said, because that's one of those things I'm not going to tolerate. If you have not worked through some things to look at the offender, and now you're focusing on the entire gender, I can't help you. Now, as far as what they have to offer, I'm gonna tell you, I have a huge problem whenever a man asks, "What do you bring to the table?" and folks say you are the table. No, you're not the table. Nobody is the table. It's what we put on the table to feed each other. The table is the table. It's what you're putting on the table. So that is crap, and to me, that's deflection. I get why sometimes women do that, because sometimes they do feel men have kind of blasted them, and rightfully so. Some of us do. But at the end of the day is, as two grown people, especially when you're in your 30s and 40s, if we can't sit down and talk about what did this person bring, because going back to that debt, you're going to bring debt into, if you got it, you're bringing that to the table. So don't sit here and say that you're the table. I would challenge any man, as soon as you ask that question, where some will say, well, men don't ask that question, and they'll use some shaming tactics. I'm asking it. Bottom line, hey, you want to know what I bring, so there needs to be a discussion. And it does not need to be sex. And this is not demeaning women, but it needs to be to a point, I need to see your wisdom. And really, you can tell a whole lot about someone's wisdom by how they answer. If you're offended because I'm trying to vet, because I'm trying to be your Adam and you be my Eve. If you're offended because I'm trying to sit here and set up to see if something where both of us mutually, not happiness, because happiness isn't guaranteed, but we can operate in the fruits of the spirit, peace, joy, stuff, raising kids, creating generational wealth, legacy, all that. If I cannot ask you that, and all that has to do with what you're bringing to me right now, because I got to decide if I can multiply that, if I can make that, I can work with it. I always tell men this, I say, you can go out with the finest woman you want to. And I sit there like this and say, oh, you're so pretty. Oh, you're so gorgeous. Oh, you're so awesome. I see your halo. Now I'm waiting to see your horns. Mm-hmm. Then I can decide if I want to interact with you from that point on or not, because we all have them. So that's what I think it has to be, where, for me, foundational, you have to have a relationship with Christ. That is a non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. You got to have wisdom. You have to have kindness. You have to have a servant's heart. You have to have great, pretty decent, effective communication skills. You also have to be able to do conflict management. You have to be able to done your work. So if you're sitting up here saying, well, I just need somebody to make you happy, then you're disqualified, because I can't spend my life trying to make you happy. Nobody is going to be happy nonstop. Happiness is conditional. Joy is a state, is a mind state. And I can't sit there and go through all that. But let me break off and stop right there.
Man, listen, I gotta have DC come back. Look, isn't anybody in the comment section that can tell me what we talked about a couple weeks ago? Anybody want to guess? What did I say? You can never make a woman happy. Never, ever, ever. It is a waste of time. You can do everything in your power to do what you know is right, to do what you're supposed to do as a man. But as far as you making her happy, it's not going to happen. You will never, ever, ever, ever be able to make a woman happy. Man, I'm loving everything that DC is saying. But listen, I want to do something real quick, and we're going to continue this conversation. But what I want to do is I want to bring up and share a couple of clips from a clip of Just Pearly Things. DC, have you ever listened to Just Pearly Things?
Yes.
Ah, okay. So you are familiar. So we're gonna pull up the screen here, and I want us to react to some of this discussion is modern women's view on men. So let's play a little bit, and we're gonna talk about it.
Shaming, fat phobic. Where's the equivalent of that for men? They don't exist.
If anything, if I meet anyone and they ever say anything to me and I need a statistic and it's about women and men, I'm phoning Pearl. Pearl has a statistic on everything.
No. Okay.
Literally, it's
you're
amazing.
allowed to have standards as a woman. What we're talking about is too high of a standard, where it only encompasses 20% of men. That standard. If you broaden your standard to include, like, let's say 50%, you would have a higher chance of being in a relationship, correct? Because you have more people.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about. The reason why a lot of you are single is because your standards are too high. Men's standards are not the same. Like the same with the two girls with the money doesn't what she has. The more likely I'll take the one with less, because the one with more is going to come with complications. She's going to be like, I'm the boss of this stuff. I have the most money. No, you can't tell me nothing. I'm like, yo, I don't need the stress.
I find it really interesting that you say that, because speaking to all of the women that I know who are currently single, the issues that we always have are you go on dates, you put yourself into somebody, you invest your time, and they all seem to have commitment issues. So that's why
it's because
we're
you're
not
dating
in
the 20%.
Why?
I promise.
All right, let's stop it right there. DC, what do you think so far, man?
I definitely touched on. I did a live Saturday, and we talked about. And the side note I want to say is that the happiness it goes the way with some men and women. Like I try to do everything to make him happy. If he wasn't happy, he ain't happy. You know, well as I know, veterans with our suicide rates and stuff like that. Sometimes it's hard for us to process. In your book, that title is phenomenal because that's part of that. We have to be able to master our own vessel as well. So what I think about what they're saying is true is that if you put like this. Less than 3% of men become military pilots. Okay, so if a woman says, I want a man as a military pilot, whoo, baby girl, it's gonna be real long, you're not gonna get it. So the point is that some of these standards, man, I agree with that. And some of the standards have nothing to do with anything. Like 6 feet tall, but yet you 5'2", that don't make no sense.
Oh, I like a tall man.
Yeah, that he is taller than you. You're 5'2", he's 6 feet. That makes no sense. It needs to be needs based, but I agree with that. It's because they have when men, like for example, I meet a lot of those things and some of the stuff that Kevin Samuels talked about, high value man. But the thing and the thing is, the thinking is different. So with that, it's that. But some men, I mean, I'm not all out here like that, so understand it. But some men. What happens is because everybody wants that man, you can develop something called choice overload, which means you have so many choices of the options available to you that you can't make a decision. And what a lot of these women are thinking, all I can do is just show up and I'm going to get that man, because that's sometimes the unfortunate downside of that we've taught. Well, you can have everything that you want as long as you think about it. I didn't become a pilot just because I thought about it. I became a pilot is because I had to put in some doggone work. And I was in flight school for 2 years. Hey, and you had to be on top of your stuff, PT wise, grade wise, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't get it because I manifested it. I got it because God blessed me enough for the opportunity. I still had to do work. So my point being with that is that, yeah, some of these standards they need to change to needs based versus it's just stuff that has nothing to do with the other.
Absolutely, I agree with you, but like the gentleman said, that most women, they want the top 20%, but if you just expanded your options to from the 20% all the way to 50%, your chances are a lot more. But a lot of women get insulted when you say maybe you should open up your horizons a little bit, because guess what? They think that that's lowering your standards. Oh, I'm too good for average. That's been a topic on the show before. Oh, I don't want average man, but you every bit of an average woman.
Why do we? Why do I don't get that. Like I sit back and tell dudes that they like, man, I'm finna just get them all and stuff. I said, well, you ever want to date an NBA cheerleader? They was like, yep. I said, I did. I didn't enjoy it that much. You ever want to date NFL cheerleaders? Mhm. Yeah, I did. Been there, done that, easy. And it was not what you think it is. Even
Right.
now, could easily, but my focus is on purpose because I believe in this as men. You chase your purpose, not the other P. You need to have that focus. But anyway, that's another discussion.
There
But
you
yeah,
go.
I do agree. Is that you have these real restrict. But here's the good thing. I heard a stat just Pearly said that. Do you believe it? That's a stat that that 20% is interested because most women think 80% of men are unattractive.
Right?
So that matches up in there. So then you have to sit back and go, well, why are 80% women attractive? And then yet women, I've heard the debate where they say, even on her show, where everybody's a 10. Well, how come every woman can be a 10, but every man can't be a 10?
Right.
That's not logical. And again, that's not the trash ladies.
Yeah.
Men, we have some things collectively we have to deal with. But no, yeah, these standards is to a point where income, hey, a man that makes high six figures can still beat you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And a man that six figures does not mean character, does not mean fidelity. It doesn't mean any of those stuff. So that's what I'm sitting up here saying. It's a nice to have, but it's not a need to have.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then some people suggest that the more money a man makes, the more infidelity or you have to deal with infidelity. You know, that's what a lot of men say because if they're a top 10% or top 20% man, then 80% of the women want them, right? So they exercise their options. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right, but a lot of men do it. Now, if there's any ladies still in the chat, will any ladies put in the chat some things that makes a man unattractive to you? And while you're doing that, we're gonna bring the screen back up and we're gonna get back into it.
Let's do it,
I'm
JD.
gonna see the bottom 80% of guys.
Where are they?
They have no commitment issues. None.
No, wait,
But
the man has
they're less.
commitment.
They're less
Hey.
attractive.
The man has commitment issues.
Yeah.
In my experience, and
But that's
most
what I'm
women
saying
that
to you
I've spoken
because
to.
he's not going to tell you, listen, darling, this is your problem. This is a B problem. This is C problem. This is D problem. I'm just going to cut or I'm going to stay there and not take you seriously. If he's not committing to you, it's because it's something you're not doing or you're not fulfilling for him in terms of what
So
he
it's
wants in a
purely
woman.
the woman's fault if a man's not committed.
If
Okay,
you're not,
if a girl is asking for, let's say her asking price is this much, and she says this is the product, this is what I'm selling. Can someone buy it? And nobody buys. Something's wrong with the product.
Good to know.
Or the
or
price.
the price.
Or the price, yeah, or the price.
Or the buyer.
This is just so
You're
difficult.
basically saying there's no issue with the
It's all the
fact
women's
that
fault.
it's so easily accessible to move on to the next person with having social media, with having dating apps now, that hasn't caused an issue in terms of individuals now committing to relationships.
What does social media have to do with the conversation?
So I find that social media has a major thing to do with the conversation in terms of dating because expectations are set so high.
I think it's
what people expect.
I think it raises women's expectations more
I
than
think it
men.
raises men's.
I think it raises
How does it raise men's?
because women's DMs are flooded.
They are.
That's true.
Now that is a fact. Women's DMs are usually flooded. And I think social media does play a part in it because, you know, just like I said earlier, we have access to so many different people just at the tips of your fingers, right? To where a lot of women think, oh, well, I can just do better. I can do better. You know, we've heard conversations on this show before where a lady left her husband. She didn't have to work. 3 kids. He took care of everything, and she left him because she thought she could do better later on. It's all about those standards, man. And I think that everything that they're saying is correct, especially my brother over here on the end. men will go down in looks to go up in cooperation. Men will go down on money to go up in respect and cooperation. Because at the end of the day, most men know, men that are up here, not the ones that are down here like we always talk about, men that are up here know that, hey, the majority of the load is going to be on me. So your money really doesn't matter that much. You understand what I'm saying? Now, we understand that most people have to have two incomes, but if a man has worked hard to get himself to a six-figure income, it's not many people that make six figures a year. Let's just be honest. The number is a lot lower than what people think. But if he's worked hard to get to a six-figure income, uh, the best version of himself, why shouldn't he ask for something in return, right? Why is it that this man has worked hard to be everything that the women want him to be, but he can't ask for anything in return, or his standards are unrealistic, or oh, it's his ego, or oh, he's not a real man anyway. What do you think about what's going on so far, DC?
So I'll tell you this. You hear the story of me being a pilot, master's degree, all that kind of stuff, retired, don't have to work. But folks don't realize there was a time where everything I had was collections. I was broke, had no degree, nothing. I mean, I was living in an apartment in Nashville with no electricity. I had to, the only times I ate really good was on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That because on Tuesdays, McDonald's had 29-cent hamburgers, and on Wednesdays, they had 39-cent cheeseburgers. I washed my underwear in the sink, and I would go places to cut my hair. So I went from that to where I am now, and God is blessed. So here's the reality when they sit back and ask, what do men that are at that level think about? And again, y'all done heard me say like NFL cheerleaders, NBA cheerleaders, stingettes, all that kind of stuff. Been there, done that, can write a ton of books. And it was not what people think it was not what it was. It was a lot of emptiness in that. And I thank God for salvation. But the thing I'm sitting up here saying is when you get to a certain level, when you start looking for a wife or looking for a partner, I know I've been in the valley, but I don't know if you know how to deal with being in the valley. And that's it. Again, worst case scenario, you're going to love me when I got everything going on and up here. But when I'm in that valley, when I'm back broke or something like that, or something happens, or it's a sickness or something like that. Because at the end of the day is, I don't care if you are a bad B or whatever it is. Because bad B or being a boss chick or getting the bag, that if I find out I got cancer, and I'm puking from chemo and my hair is falling out, it's not going to wipe up the floor, and it's not going to sweep up my hair when it's falling out. It's not going to be able to push me when I go from 6 feet 230 down to 110 pounds. That's the reality. So I hear what they're saying is, but that's the rawness of it, is that you're saying you all that. But what these men are looking for, if they really thinking, if they really claw their way out, they looking for somebody that I know if I lost it all, would this woman love me? And if you cannot mitigate that question and can't answer it, then to a point you have to bypass. And no matter how much you love them, you have to keep moving. That's the real.
I agree wholeheartedly. DC, we usually lately I've only been going about an hour on this weekly show, but I want to go just a few more minutes on the Just Pearly Things reaction, and then we'll get ready to give final thoughts and wrap up. Let's go a little bit further.
Yeah, and so it gasses women up and think they're hotter than they are, because you can be an average chick and have an NBA player slide into your DMs.
It kills your confidence. It's like,
but as a dude, you're not. As a dude,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's great either way, but I do think there's an issue in terms of it sets expectations to be higher, and then when you have so much access to speaking to hundreds of women on a daily basis, men also become more picky.
Hold up.
Why though? But this is it's a small percentage of men that are picky, because again, most
20%.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's
and that's what I'm saying. You're right. It is harder to get the small percentage of guys to commit, Because if you find this guy attractive, a lot of other women probably do too.
Mhm.
Why would he commit when he can just bang a bunch of chicks?
Let's put all the 20% on an island somewhere, and we'll all live happy ever after.
You would go to the island.
But,
No,
but
yeah.
then,
Why am I
but
going
then
to the
in
island
that
for?
no, but in that 20%,
Don't tell me where the island is. Don't give me a boat.
Yeah, where's the island?
Where's the boats?
what is the exact time and location?
I'll swim. I'm a good swimmer.
You want to go to the island,
So-
and only that if you take away the 20% of the guys and put them on the island, then there'll be a new 20% of guys that you lot are now interested
Exactly. Let everyone get a chance, man.
in. Yeah, so you always want the top. You can't settle for what you like. It's like
Lower your expectations.
lower your expectations.
I don't think that's
I'm not that
I don't think
high.
that's a hot take,
No.
but
What? Go ahead.
I don't think it's a hot take to so I guess my opinion on this is a bit more nuanced in that yes, everyone has, expectations that can vary and sometimes they can be a bit ridiculous. So but I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually enjoy the hustle. I don't think it's a hot take to tell women that hey, you should settle for less, you should settle for the average XYZ. I think it's your job as a man to be that top person.
You're either a beta or you're a successful man
Go on. say it again.
inside of this in the dating game. Because only a man that's winning will say that. Or do you know what I'm saying?
No.
Like,
I will tell you, I'm not necessarily winning. I could be doing better, but and I think I'm far from a beta.
All right, DC. Couple questions. As we get ready to, my bad. Couple questions as we get ready to close out real quick, man. Number one, do you think that women should lower their standards?
I wouldn't use the phrase lower their standards.
Why not?
Okay. Reason being is because lowering your standards, it might be something that is a need. For example, if you say I need, we got to define what that standard is. So I couldn't say within itself, lower the standard. What I do think that it should be more so is that have realistic standards not based upon feelings or manifesting, but actual, hey, is this the kind of man you've been attracted? Why do you think you're just going to do it now? And I think also it's to a point where not so much lower, but I think you got to also, I would say this, and I think you're going to like it, is that you got to make sure you meet those standards.
Facts.
I think it's too much of a focus on having a standard versus meeting your own personal standard.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. A lot of the things that some of these modern women ask for, they can't even provide themselves.
Like, I'll give you something that's hard for women to listen to when I talk about weight. And I don't believe in weight shaming women. But I also notice that, hey, there are elements that some people are sick. Some people suffer through depression, which causes you to hold weight. But then there's an element that it may actually be a discipline issue. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day is if you are, I don't down you because you're 200 or 215 or 20 pounds and somebody might be attracted to it. But the issue is if the house catches on fire and you're on the second floor, the smoke is just coming, that's where it becomes an issue. And I don't think folks are thinking about that. So I owe you to be in as great a shape as I can, but you owe me to be in the best shape you can be in.
Right. I agree with that 100% as well. And, I think it's a situation to where I think that some women do need to lower their standards. And to piggyback off what you said, lowering your standards is not always necessarily a bad thing. Because it comes to a point to where, just like you said, DC, you need to have realistic standards, because and I'm not into body shaming as well, but you see it all the time. Let's take Lizzo for example. She shot her shot at my man that played Captain America and some other big time players in Hollywood and entertainment. And, they had to politely shut her down. And then, she was on IG crying about she can't get the man that she wants. Okay. maybe you should have more realistic standards, you know? Or maybe you should do some work on yourself to make yourself be more attractive to the men that you say that you want, because those men want something too. Those men want something. You know, if I'm in the top 10%, hey, I don't have to, just accept anything. You understand what I'm saying? So in that aspect, I think that sometimes women do need to lower their standards in the sense of having realistic standards. Now, what do you think our community would look like if more women would get on the same page with these men that they say that they want?
What do you mean that they get on the high level?
Yes, yes, yes. So, all right, let's say if more women, if you got the men up here that say that hey, you want a traditional man, you want a man that can cover everything, okay, I'm it. Now you have to get on my program, take care of the kids, take care of home or whatever. Not saying that I'll never help out, but the majority of it, it should be the woman that takes care, because women are more nurturers, more of nurturers anyway. You understand what I'm saying? It's something about, I could wipe the counter off and I could think it's clean. No crumbs, no dirt, no nothing on it. But then my wife come behind me and wipe the counter, and she does a little something different with the elbow or the wrist or something, and now I see what clean look like. You understand? Women are just naturally better at those types of things than men are. So if more women would say, "Hey, I'll be a cooperative woman. I'll be more of the nurturer in the household. If I want to work, I'll work or whatever. But that doesn't take away from my family. I'm here to build with my family, to cooperate with my husband, to be an example in our community." What do you think our community would look like, or if we will ever get to that point?
If men were providers and that women were nurtured and they're able to work as partners, man, let me tell you something, our community would be killing it. I mean, we would be killing it. I would sit back and caution women that have those standards, the high ones, because you generally hear women talking about standards, not men, that the numbers game gonna get you, my sister. I'm sorry. If you're 20%, if you're talking about a million plus or whatever it is, and you got 15 million sisters out there, the numbers game gonna get you. I mean, at the end of the day, is you're gonna have to accept that it is a numbers game that is heavily stacked against you. It's like going to a casino and playing where you have a 0.00002%. I don't pay my bill. You don't play the lottery and expect to be able to pay your bills with it next week, because the odds of you winning is really low. But I think when we start getting communal and stop getting into all this chemistry and all this other kind of stuff, because devils give chemistry, demons have chemistry too. That's a sad thing. I don't realize. Start getting into all this other stuff and start saying, because I know as a man, as I got older, I changed. It wouldn't be looking for somebody for just they look good. It's not so much feminine fit as much as not saying that I don't want that, but it's more so about building legacy. We have got to build our communities. And this modern mindset, men and women, this toxic battle, it is not going to get us. And I'm going to stand firm on that one. We ain't going to never get there with this division. We're not going to never get there if we expected somebody to pay all the bills and this other money goes to consumerism versus it being an investor. We're never going to get there. And so somebody has to say, time out. Guess what? Everybody ain't going to look like Idris Elba or Michael B. Jordan and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to sit back and understand is that sometimes when y'all build together, love can grow. It don't make no sense, JD, sitting up here saying back then, women didn't pick. It was basically they got told who they're going to marry to a certain degree. Now we can pick and we jack it up more. That don't make no sense.
Right. It does not make any sense. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. We're doing worse with more than what our ancestors and forefathers did with a lot less. I mean, and look at the community that they had back then. They actually had a community to where men in the community were going to protect the women. You know, oh, I know that's DC's wife over there. Oh, somebody messed. Let me go. You know what I'm saying? But now, men, look, you men can't even go help a woman in the gym that's about to die for fear of being exposed on TikTok or whatever for being a creep. You know, just all kinds of things, man. We need to come back together and figure this thing out. But y'all, we are far past our time tonight. DC, thank you so much for joining me, especially on short notice, man. You can come back anytime you get ready, and I hope to build some more panels, and we'll get together and talk. And let's see, I think that's it. Y'all, if you haven't already, go get my book. The link is in the description. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Shout out to Cool Cat and Eugene Still and Gabrielle White Caudle for hanging out with us, and Family Values as well, hanging out with us in the comments. Haven't seen Family Values in a while. Thank you so much for joining us. But before we go, I have to remind you, I don't care where you are. I don't care what part of the world you are in. It is always summertime in NY, y'all. We out. Peace.
This is too smooth. I honestly didn't even really want to say anything on this, but that's what the people want. That's what I came here for. So we're gonna get into it.
I like my coffee black, wife too. Don't turn this to no controversy. It's my boo. I can make $250,000 off a haiku, and I can make another quarter off it times two. If it's money on the table, I'll be on it like Bobby or Epic. You peep the aesthetic, it's hard to forget it. I hear you talking, but you're hardly right. I'm the voice of your prototype. Summertime and NY. Yeah. Summertime and NY. It's too cool. Get the drop tops out. Summertime and NY. It fits right. Bottles over here. Summertime and NY. Summertime and NY. I'm talking 6 a.m. tea times. 18 with the mayor talking land banks. I waited for it, gotta get mine. Snack a seat up at the table if my man can't. Heading to a meeting worth $1 million with no briefcase. Just my mind in a free state. I got a plan through a vision, but it takes time. I'ma make mine. Summertime in NY. Yeah. Summertime in NY. Yeah. You know the drill by now. Summertime in NY. Get everything together, get the squad together, get the gang together. Summertime in NY. Summertime in NY. Started in the back office, now I run the front. Call the shots, make the deals, know the deal, know what's up. Too much for the books, then I put it in a tuck. Too much for the tuck, then I give it to my love. Once I make $1 million, man, $1 million won't be enough. Watch me fake the struggle while I get it off the hush. Now it's jet blue miles, Rolex dials, frowns turn to smiles. Summertime in NY. Now as it comes to an end. Summertime in NY. And the falls upon us. I want you to bring that energy. Summertime. Run that thing back. Yeah. Until next year. Summertime in NY. Yeah.